Yeah, and then somehow you've got like 4 wives and you're still lonely, and your mum is happy, so then everything's good.
Then everything's good. But then actually, so I feel like I'm very happy, but I don't know if I've just projected that feeling back onto myself, and now I'm stuck in this loop where I am just constantly happy, and I'm not acknowledging anything bad that happens.
Yeah, it's weird when you say it like that. It doesn't seem like there's a problem.
Yeah, but it's no different to the loneliness, right? It's exactly the same flawed logic as saying that I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. Saying I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy is still the same flawed logic. I'm just still projecting that state of happiness onto me.
Yeah, but when you say I'm happy, you're talking about like how you feel in this general moment, or you just saying as a person?
Both. No. So it was how I felt in that general. It's how I felt in that general moment, but I projected it onto myself now. So now that's how I feel as a person. I'm just a happy person.
I mean, I guess that's kind of great, no?
I mean, it is great, but it also leads to this level of ego. It also leads to the fact that maybe I don't recognize anything negative around me at the moment.
Yeah, but also that
walking around with like a bit of a strut. Yeah, because I'm just like just like this happy man.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes you don't know how to sit and just feel like your happiness might be dependent on something else, on this constant movement.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what? So I'm constantly moving.
So your happiness is not just this general happiness. It's actually like predicated on certain conditions.
So. Yeah, exactly, and it's
and providing you maintain those conditions, you'll be happy.
Yeah, but is that necessarily a bad way to live my life?
No, but those conditions will inevitably change.
Yeah, that's true. But what if the condition is simply that I keep moving?
Yeah, but what happens if you first in old age you're not going to be able to move that much?
Yeah.
But what happens if you lose a leg or something? Or
I don't mean moving in the state of static. I don't mean like moving in like physically moving.
Oh, you do?
I mean like moving mentally. Like at no point do I reflect. I just keep pushing forward.
That's like, wait, our last podcast was about memory and how you're always building ideas of the past.
Yeah, but then...
Oh, but that was in the past.
That was in the past. And also I started doing that Etch-a-Sketch thing. So now I'm a new man. I'm creating new memories every day.
Okay.
And now I'm constantly happy.
Oh, really? Oh, so the key to happiness is just listening to the podcast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but also the key to happiness has always been to live in...
Why do no doctors prescribe this?
Yeah, but also the key to happiness has always been to live in the present.
Yeah.
Right? If nothing's tying you down in the past, then you're free.
Yeah, but I think we can still learn from the past, and the past can inject the present. Like, you can understand it, like, it forms the soil of the now.
Yeah, that's very true. But
let's not get into memory.
No, exactly. We just did this. No, but I think, so loneliness is a really fascinating topic. And actually, so if you're surrounded by... So I'm surrounded by clothing that I love in my bedroom. I'm surrounded by artwork that I love. Can you be lonely if you're surrounded by things that you love? Can you be lonely if you're surrounded by inanimate objects?
Can you be lonely if you're surrounded by inanimate objects? Well, we're always surrounded by inanimate objects.
Yeah, but inanimate objects that we've actively chosen and actually have cultivated in our rooms.
Yeah, of course you can be lonely. That. But again, it depends how connected you are to those things, and it's really hard to be in every moment connected to everything that's around you, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have inanimate objects around you that you're connected to, I mean, this is also based on like a kind of perspective in which nothing is inanimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So there's a certain sort of relationship or symbiosis between you and the things that surround you, whether they're people, plants, records, paintings, pictures of yourself. If you're in like kind of, connective symbiotic harmony with these things, then you can't be lonely. But to remain in that state is very difficult. Yeah,
that's very true. Now that's why I think actually, and that is what I try to explain to my mother, that I'm not lonely, and I'm sure there are lonely moments, but I think it's impossible to stay in a state of loneliness, and it's impossible to stay in a state of the opposite of loneliness as well, constantly.
Yeah.
Like, it must fluctuate.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of these things are based on, working on an internal reality, working on the way in which we relate to the world and the things around us. So regardless of, how your conditions change, if you relate to the world in a certain way, then that will that will sort of be that. I think that's the greatest antidote to loneliness.
But then that's the case, right? So if we continue working on ourselves and continue working on how we relate to the world, then do we eradicate loneliness? Or will we still experience loneliness?
Yeah. Well, of course. Well, like ideally, if we connect to these, if we, get better at the way we relate to the things around us and the way we relate to our own thoughts, then loneliness itself won't leave. It's just that when the loneliness comes, we don't attach it to us. We don't build it into ourselves. We don't really care that we are experiencing loneliness because loneliness is ephemeral.
But then I already don't care. It's my mother that cares.
Yeah. She needs to listen to our podcast.
But then actually, so why is my mother's greatest fear that I'm lonely?
Well,
does your mother have the same fear as well? I think it's an Asian thing, right?
Yeah, but I don't think my parents are as like, my parents don't think I'm cursed because I've got, because I'm not married. They're like, I think they worry about these sort of things, but I don't know. I don't know if my parents think I'm lonely. And, but I think, like as parents, your greatest fear is just your children's happiness, right?
Yeah.
But
also, why do we associate loneliness with unhappiness?
But I think sometimes it's really hard, like especially if we don't see our parents that often.
Yeah.
But also they don't want to. It's hard for them to engage with like what it means to be us or the internal realities, and it's all a very complex. It's very complex, very abstract sort of thing. So the way that they try and do is they just measure it against a series of intangibles, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is how we measure happiness in society at large.
Yeah, with a series of intangibles.
Yeah. So
do you have a job?
Do they have a job? How much money are they making?
Exactly.
How many friends do they have? Are they married?
But that's how we actually
do they have kids?
That's how we judge people, though.
Yeah.
But also, I think we're trying to move away from that. But I haven't really. Well, we're just trying to be in an area that's free of judgment. But I think.
But I think there's also this idea that when you're doing something which is counter to the norm of society, then that assumes a sadness.
And it assumes a loneliness, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there is a certain loneliness that comes with that.
Yeah.
In the fact that you are.
Like what I was saying about how they get ostracized. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're quite lucky in our age and in London. There's no. You got to do something really fucking nuts to be completely
ostracized, right?
Isolated from any community.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's always. And I feel like we're single and we don't really care about this. That's partly because there's so many people in our situation, and it's not. But we don't see as getting married and having kids as the be all and end all of everything.
Yeah, we see the podcast as the be all and end all of everything, right?
Yeah, but the truth is, if we did have kids, we'd have a few more listeners.
So maybe we should have kids.
Yeah, no, now I'm understanding where your mum's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. No, but having kids...
So it's just... No, she's just saying, from business success.
Yeah, that's true. We need to have children.
That is the only way, have kids to...
No, but why don't we just... Instead of that, we're just dating more people.
Date more people. Yeah, but they might be, less dedicated ephemeral listeners.
Yeah, that's very true.
We need people who are,
Yeah.
Blood is thicker than water, my friend.
That's so true. Kids will... And also, I can tell the kids, I can just put it on. They can listen while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
But also this is a great education software because then we don't need to start teaching them morals and stuff. We just during the night just let them listen to the podcast over.
Yeah, that's very true.
And they can just inhabit our our moral system or our immoral system.
I was gonna say it's definitely not a moral system.
But imagine how much more time we would have.
If we had kids. If we had kids, we'd have more time.
No. Part of the reason to not have kids is because of all the time it takes up and all that thing. But if we just subcontract all the sort of moral, spiritual, and intellectual work to our podcast, then we don't really need to pay any attention to our kids.
But then that's maybe the true reason why we had the podcast.
Yeah.
To teach our kids, so we don't have to.
And that's interesting because we always say that maybe subconsciously biology is the most powerful force that works within us. Everything might be driven by sex or something.
Yeah. Or
and everything. Yeah. And the reason for sex is to procreate. So if everything we're doing is actually subconsciously or kind of biologically governed towards us having kids, or even teaching our kids, maybe we just did this podcast in order to educate our children.
We didn't even realize.
Yeah. And we're promoting it to all these other idiots that we don't need. It's only for our children.
You know what's actually really fascinating? In addition to that, is with this lonely question, do you think there are people out there who are listening to the podcast and agreeing with our views, and as a result,
less lonely?
Less lonely, yeah.
Well, yeah, hopefully, inshallah.
Yeah,
I think the idea is that
is that the point of art, though, to make people feel less lonely?
Yeah, so I think that is true in the sense that people, like, with good art, then people can resonate with it and feel some sort of
connection to it.
Yeah, sensory experience and connection with it. And then on one level, it's just like you're happy to know that other people feel the same.
Yeah.
And that you're not this weird freak.
Yeah, who doesn't like it or whatever.
Like everything. And then the other thing, I think the podcasts as a whole are great because they're like, I don't know, a lot of the time I feel like you don't listen to podcasts, but like I
only listen to our own podcast.
But I love I like the idea of like being in a conversation that I don't need to participate in.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel weird that you're just eavesdropping.
But I don't know, I kind of like that. Like,
but I suppose you're actively...
I also don't need to like make eye contact. I don't need to like,
takes away all the pressure.
Takes all the pressure, and then you can still be in that conversation. And
that's true.
I don't know. Some people have told me that they they want to talk, or they start talking to our podcast.
Really? So maybe we are curing loneliness. Actually, so if you are feeling lonely, just listen to the podcast. Right? Maybe that's how we should market it.
Yeah. Postmodern cure for loneliness. But I don't think our podcast does anything other than anybody else's podcast in that realm.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's true. I mean, we probably have less music than other podcasts. Yeah. And also, we probably just speak over the top of each other a bit more.
Yeah. But if it's the sort of conversation, if you're in a podcast, if there is a podcast that has a similar kind of conversation that you would want to be part of or something, I guess that's the idea. Right? But you can you can be, some nights you're really tired. I don't know. This is why I listen to podcasts. It's like some nights I'm really tired and I want to go home, but I also don't really want to just like go home. I want to kind of, maybe go out for a drink, but just not really be there. And then this is like the ideal situation.
Yeah, and I think that's why WhatsApp was invented, right? Or like text messaging.
Yeah, I don't know. I do find like that does detract. Also, too many like podcasts and all this sort of stuff does detract you from reality. I feel disconnected if I'm on WhatsApp on my phone too much.
Yeah, exactly. But then, which is weird because actually we're more connected than ever.
Yeah, and we're connecting to people, but I don't.
Yeah, we're connecting to people, right?
But we're also like connecting to images rather than reality.
Yeah, and also I can't remember anything that I write on WhatsApp or text.
That's because like you've written me 18,000 messages,
and it's just they're normally just asking you when we're podcasting.
No, or me just saying like, should we go for dinner? Oh yeah, we should podcast about that. Oh yeah, we should go. Just shut up. Okay, so wait, loneliness.
Yeah, so actually what I'll do is I'll just send this podcast to my mother.
Yeah.
And just be like, I don't know, so I don't think I am lonely.
Wait, so what was your response when she said,
yeah, that I think you're lonely? I know, I just said, why don't you do something about it? And then, so she's going to find me a wife, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't say you're lonely?
No, obviously. No, but what's the point of telling someone that you're not lonely if they already think that you're lonely? That is a waste of a conversation. If someone already got preconceived conceptions about you, it's a waste of time trying to change those conceptions in speech. Just let them see that you're not lonely, right?
Yeah, but how do you do that?
I'll just...
what you should say to them is, like, if I was truly lonely, you'd see me more.
That's a really beautiful response. Yeah. That's... I'll go and text her that now. I'll go and ring her quickly.